Good afternoon, folks. We are live with the Freedom Grappling Podcast. It's been a little while. We've been very busy. We are back here today with good friend, gym owner, brown belt Gannon Lang, bringing him on ahead of his trip down to Legion to go see Keenan Cornelius for a week. We're going to be talking a little bit about that, a little bit how he got his start. He owns a gym here in Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is about 45 minutes away from myself. Regularly train at. So we're going to talk to him about that and how he got his gym started, things of that nature. This podcast is brought to you by Freedom Fightwear and Freedom Grappling Invitational. We just announced our main event for the Freedom Grappling Invitational 2. We're going to be doing that down in North River Jiu Jitsu, home of Josh the Duck. The main event is Ethan Crellison versus Elijah Carlton for $10,000. You heard that right, $10,000. Each competitor put up $5,000 of their own money, saying they're better than the other. So it's going to be a barn burner. I cannot wait. December 5th, it's going to be live streamed YouTube and the Facebook page, as always, for free. All right, we're going to bring our guest, Gannon Lang, on. Gannon, what's up, brother? How are you?
Yo, how you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good, man, good. Just got off training, took a shower, and now we're chilling.
All right. So, like I told them before you came on, you're going to be heading out to Legion to go visit Keenan Cornelius. Tell us a little bit about who you are, the school you own, things of that nature.
Awesome. So, as you said, my name's Gannon Lang. I've been training for about 6 years now in Fredericksburg. I've trained in DC at Beta Academy. That's my home school outside of Nexus Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, which is the spot that I run now. I started in mid 2014 in a space that was named Darcy O'Leary. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I ended up leaving in the beginning of my purple belt to go and train over at Beta, and that's when I started taking competition more seriously. Pretty much how this whole Keenan thing came about was I started playing with this guard that I coined as Anubis Guard, which is pretty much equivalent to what he calls single leg X worm. And I remember, like, on Instagram, he was talking about this new position that he was playing, and it was exactly what I had been working with for a couple years. And I'm pretty sure, like, a lot of my friends and people who follow my jiu-jitsu, like, heckled him a little bit. So I took it upon myself to take that a step further, following the Gordon Ryan principle of like getting people to acknowledge you, you know. So I made a video, and I was kind of trolling him somewhat to try and open up a means of communication, and that was about a year and a half ago. And we were talking about, like, if I can show the effectiveness in competition, then maybe there was some type of something we could do in the future, you know. And he was pretty much waiting for me to do that, and that was right around when I was opening up Nexus, and I was trying to kind of build that brand. So now here we are that COVID is kind of relaxing, shall we say. We've all been back training for a couple months at Nexus and in Virginia as a whole. So there was a International Lapel Day that was, I think it was a month or two ago, that everyone across the world was posting these lapel techniques, and I shot my shot and I won the raffle. So now I'm going to go out there on Sunday for a week and hopefully show him some of the things that I've developed from the position, learn more about everything, because I mean, Keenan was the guy who inspired me to compete. He was absolutely setting the world on fire in 2014 and so on. It was back when he was a brown belt, or actually no, I think he was a black belt in 2014. But the first thing I saw from him was that Lloyd Irvin, like the gauntlet they put him through, and he just massacred everyone, and that really inspired me to, work with the lapel and other techniques that he's developed.
All right, so you talked a little bit about you got started in 2014. What got you started?
So I remember being very, very bored with soccer. Like I played soccer from like 3 until 17, and I was on varsity in my high school, but I didn't play too much. Like I was no superstar. Like I had to work 20 times harder to be good in soccer as I did in jiu-jitsu. So I asked my friend Christian Litzen, he was in my chorus class. I knew that he was like into MMA and he fought well, right? So I asked him if you had to choose one art of the many that you train, what would you suggest? Like what should I put my time into to be the most effective fighter? And he suggested Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the rest is history.
So
I went in
and here we are.
Yeah.
All right. It's a pretty wild journey when you think about it, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. And now he's training at Nexus with his brother Jake, who was like before Keenan. Like Jake Litzen was my he was like that guy that I was looking up to, because he was at blue belt. I was like fresh white belt. I saw him just destroying people at the local US grapplings, and now both of them train at Nexus. So it's so cool to like be able to come full circle with that. A lot of the people who were kicking my ass in the beginning are now like training with me. So
yeah, training under you too.
Yeah, and it's a weird dynamic, but I think we like they're very cool about it, and there aren't a lot of egos being thrown around the gym, or at least to my knowledge, like no, it seems.
Like I said, I've trained there. Great environment. You know that. I'll tell you if I felt anything. So pretty
appreciate that.
So that's cool, man. 2014, you got started. You got started at. What school did you say you got started at?
It was at Darcy O'Leary, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Darcy O'Leary was in Fredericksburg at the time, right?
Right. So the space that Nexus is right now is the space where I started originally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's gone through a couple owners since then, but yeah, and I'm pretty sure Darcy O'Leary is probably 10-15 minutes down the road, so that was a little awkward, but it was not what I intended to like take any type of business away from them. It's just the best spot that I could find. Yeah.
So what year did you leave Darcy O'Leary's?
I believe, checking the tattoo here, I have all the dates. It was in early 2017.
All right, so 2017, what pushed you to go from there to Beta? Being that Beta was all the way in DC, you had to drive up there.
Yeah, so Beta's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours away from here. So I looked at all the schools around, and I heard mixed matched things about some of the people and places in the area. And I wanted to compete. I wanted to do what Keenan does. Like I wanted to be at a very high level, and I wanted people to look up to me and my style. So I searched around, and Beta seemed to be the best fit. I still have a friend, Jose Gonzalez, who forced me to compete, like said, you can be good at this, you need to be good at this, like this is your thing. So he went to Beta, and I went there, and it was like instant connection. Like everyone there is so nice, but they're hard asses. They train a lot and very hard. And knock upon my professor, like he is just so high level. I mean, when you roll with him, he literally moves so slow, and you can't, what's happening, but you can't stop it. And that's what I really respected. And it was nothing against like my previous professor or anything like that, but they were not very into competition. But I still I look forward to like rekindling that relationship with them, but I know it's going to be a little bit awkward now that I'm a gym owner in the same area. So
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So whenever you go to certain gyms, it's a different feeling. Whenever you're looking at competition, like me and you actually got introduced. We had super fights together, right?
yeah.
So we were kind of on the same path at that point in time. This was pre-COVID, of course. Uh, I was competing. You was competing pretty much all the time. I think we were pretty much both stacked out that year.
Yeah.
And it's weird going from a school that competes to a school that doesn't compete. And I'm kind of in that situation now, where I'm at a school that nobody really competes at. I'm still learning a lot. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying, but it's just a different environment, I guess. Coming from a school where you beat the hell out of each other every day, and you call it a happening, to a place where not necessarily everybody's up for that. You got to kind of like take a different route, but it makes you learn different things as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong, High Road, where you're at right now, like, I train there every Wednesday, and I learn a lot from Dave all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like you said, like it's a newer school, and it's not exactly aimed towards competition. It's aimed towards getting everyone kind of on the right path. And I hope to be that competition school in the area, that people feel like they can come, they can go, they can be at another school, but they can come through my gym anytime and get good roles and still have a good relationship with their home gym and come through and have some fun.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I do. I train with Dave, of course, every week that I can. Every class he has, I train with him. I learn a lot. Obviously, I haven't trained in gi in like 3 years. So I started when I trained with Dave. I started training the gi again. Like I said, I'm picking up a lot. It's just a different environment for me. Not necessarily that environment, just different. It's actually a really great environment. Everybody wants to learn. It's really good people, really good vibes. Everybody does good for each other. And then when I want to go get some competition in, I'll roll over to your place or roll over to MMAI in Richmond or wherever I need competition rolls at, and we'll kill each other. And I'll come back to regular class and learn something. So yeah, right now I kind of have the best of both worlds. Training with Dave is like I said, great because I get to learn things at a more technical pace than what I'm used to. Training with people that want to kill you all the time. Sometimes you don't get the best technical things. You just got to learn to roll fast and roll hard.
Yeah, it's a little rough.
Both has their pros and cons. So I'm kind of learning the mix of both of them right now. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's also what drew me to Beta, because like they have a class that is specifically geared towards competition, and then they just have so many people. So you can go to a class in the morning and you expect like, okay, it's going to be a light day. Like I'm pretty sore from last night. And then you have 4 black belts on the mat and they know you compete. So they're like, okay, Gannon, we're going to Shark Tank you today. It's a lot of fun.
Great. Thanks. I appreciate that. Right?
Yeah, I appreciate that very much.
So, we're kind of talking a little bit about competition mindset in different gyms. You have all kinds of different gyms. You have competition gyms. You have your self-defense gyms. You have your family gyms. And there's nothing wrong with any of those gyms. There's a place for every one of them. Having started Nexus, what kind of gym are you trying to make it to be? Are you trying to make it that competition gym? Or are you trying to make it all around?
I'd like it to be all around, but I also want to have a strong competition team eventually. The thing with Fredericksburg that I've found over the last year is that there are a lot of transient folks. Like people will come in for college, or they'll come in for a couple years or months at a time, and then they move on. Like it's right in the middle of Richmond and DC. So that's where they really want to be, and Fredericksburg is just kind of that place that they stay for a little bit. So I'm trying to figure out who are the people that are going to benefit my students, like people that come in from Chicago or something like that, like somewhere that's a little bit farther away, and they come through to the open mat and they're like trying to heel hook everyone, or like they're trying to like do like flying triangles and things like that. And the people that are there to build a relationship, like they want to stay. It's very easy after 1 or 2 times like rolling with someone figuring that out. So I guess like circling back around to your question, like I would like it to be a family atmosphere with a strong competition team.
Yeah, that's a good environment. The environment I came in before I met Dave's, like I said, Dave's has a totally different environment because everybody there is so friendly. Everybody there is
Yeah.
you're doing well for each other. Where I was at before in Louisa was also a great gym with a different mindset. It was like really family oriented, but you were rolling to submit each other. There's no doubt about it. You wasn't rolling just to chill out. Now we had family classes for all that. They had kickboxing, cardio kickboxing, things like that. But when it was jiu-jitsu time, we had a small group of guys. So when it was jiu-jitsu time, there was no playing around. When it was time to roll, it was time to roll.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to break that because, like, going to open mats at certain other places, you'd get, of course, I guess I'll call it like the social parties. They'd be like on the side of the mat talking during like open mats.
Yeah.
And that was really hard for me to get used to because I was like, hey, you want to roll? And they're like, oh, we're just kind of chilling right now. I'm like, why are you chilling? It's open mat right now. You're supposed to be rolling. Like, it took me a long time to get over that.
I think one thing that I enjoy about beta is there aren't a lot of cliques. You know what I mean? Like in the bigger gyms, you typically see like all the ones that I visited over the years, like you find cliques inside the gym very, very quickly, and it's almost as if certain people refuse to roll with the new guy, and certain people want to kill the new guy or the visitor or whatever it may be. So for you as the new guy, it's gonna be like that for a little bit, unfortunately, until you find out who your people are.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about you started in 2014. When did you start competing?
I competed like 2 weeks into white belt. I was way too excited because I knew that Jake was going to Pans, and I was like, well, I want to do that. So I went in and I got absolutely wrecked in the gi. I think I got like silver in no gi or something like that. I won like 1 or 2 matches. Like it was cool that I could do that. But it was silly. Like I didn't know anything. So soon after that, like we had a kind of an open in-house tournament that was like open to a Yamasaki gym, open to a couple MMA schools, and then the Darcy O'Leary group. And I remember going against 2 or 3 purple belts that day, and I think I beat one and I lost it. This was like 4 months in, and I remember Jay saying, if you beat this second purple belt in the finals, like I'll give you your blue belt. And it was like 3 or 4 months, and I was like, okay, like awesome. I got wrecked. Like I got absolutely pissed on. And I remember I still have pictures of this. I'm talking, this guy was like 5'3", bro. And I didn't understand that like a purple belt, even though they're 5'3", will still fuck you up. And I was looking at this guy like, okay, I'm gonna get my blue belt today. Yeah, I got wrecked. So that was a big wake up call. Made me train really hard. I ended up getting my blue belt like 2 or 3 months later, and after that, like at blue belt is when I really started to take competing seriously. I went to UMW in, I think it was like 2015. So I dropped out halfway through 2016, and that was, or no, it was at the end of 2016, like right when I got my purple belt. I was like, man, I don't see this benefiting me in the future, like going to a 4-year college. I might take a business class down the road, but for right now, like I was skipping classes to go and train. I'm sorry, Mom, if you're watching this. Like I was skipping tests. I was skipping like big projects. It just didn't matter to me. And I was like, I'm wasting money right now. And I don't want to be in debt. So yeah, and that was when I was like, okay, if I'm gonna take it this seriously, like I'm dropping out of college, like I need a school that takes this very seriously. So that was another thing that drove me to beta.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. So we're talking about competition a little bit. I want to dive into dive into some stories here.
Mhm.
What is the worst time you ever had? What is the worst story that you ever had competing?
Ooh. Probably the grappling industries where I threw up on the mat. That wasn't great. It's not a good look to be a purple belt and throwing up on the mat. That was another thing. It's all coming back now. It's all coming back. Like why I went to beta. Like I thought I had cardio until you go to a grappling industries and you have 8 matches and
Yeah.
you're going hard and you want to win. So it was like my last match of the day and I threw up hard on the mat. Like I finished the match, but then it was all over from there. That was the worst. What about you?
So, man, there's the one in particular was probably the worst. So I think I told you about it the other night actually. So my first super fight ever, I emailed this company. It was at the time it was Submission Arena Grappling Competitions. They're no longer in business, but that was my first super fight ever, and I went up there, and there was Matthias Lutias was on the card, Andrew Cockle,
Oh yeah.
Zach Edwards, all the guys that I've had on my cards now, other than Lutias, or that I've hung out with after that, was like at the time like they were on the card, and I was like, wow, Matthias Lutias was a beast. I'm like, I'm gonna get it. And he still is a beast. I was like, I'm gonna get on this card. I'm gonna go out here and wreck people. I don't know. I was, like I said, a fresh blue belt. I had been training under Robbie for like 6 months or so. I had a good leg lock game, and that was it.
You're like running out there, dick full of confidence. You're like, I'm gonna heel hook this fool so fast.
Pure confidence, exactly that. I'm gonna heel hook this guy. We're gonna be done with, right? And that's all I had was leg locks at the time. There was nothing else. There was no second option. If I didn't get your leg, I was fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I go out there just, full of confidence. This cat's going to I'm going to leg lock him. Well, I've cut down to 155.
Ooh.
Now, mind you, I'm sitting at like 205 right now. So I'm not a natural 155. So I was walking around like 175, 170 at the time because I was training to fight under Robbie, training to fight MMA. So I cut from 170 to 155, 15 pounds. I drove up to Philadelphia where the competition was. When I get there, I'm looking around, I'm like, fuck, I don't see my guy. Fuck, man, I don't see my guy. I drove up here 4 hours. And I started telling Robbie because the owner was like, he was like, hey, man, I don't see your guy. I don't know if he's showing up. I'm like, look, I dropped 15 pounds in a week. I'm fighting somebody.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if it's somebody in the street. Somebody's fighting today. Like, I'm mad. I cut a lot of weight.
Yeah. So
I'm like joking around with Robbie. I'm like, Robbie, look, if nobody shows up, me and you are going out there and throwing a match on. I don't care right now. He's like, no, we're not doing that. So he comes up to me and like I'm already like flustered. My guy wasn't here. I prepared for this guy. He was a hard wrestler. So I was like, yeah. He dives in. I'm taking the legs. It's going to be a wrap. He knows nothing else. He's just going to try to pressure. It's not going to work because his feet are going to be light. So at this time, when I started leg locks, all my focus, like outside of the gym, was nothing but studying DDS numbers, leg games.
Yeah.
Right? The Renzo Gracie, John Danaher leg system. So I'm studying this day in, day out. I'm talking 4 or 5 hours a night on the computer, on the phone, just studying matches. So I get up there and he's like, the dude still didn't show up. It's like 4 hours into it. It's about to be showtime. We got there really early. It's about to be showtime. I'm looking around like, fuck, man, he still's not here. 4.5 hours away from home. He was like, hey, well, this guy's dude didn't show up either. This guy's 175. I'm 155. He's from Danaher, or he's from Henzo's, and he trains with Danaher. I'm like, well, this just really got bad for me. Like the one person I didn't want to have is like, and it was a guy named Rashid Press. He still competes now, and a good guy. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm here. I'm not going to back down. Let's go ahead and throw it on. Well, Submission Arena had a different rule set than any other competition that I've ever seen. So it was best 2 out of 3 subs. So we went in. I don't remember how long the rounds were. I never made it that far. I don't remember how long the rounds were, but if you submitted or got submitted, it was a 30-second break. You went back out again, did the same thing. You submit or got submitted. If it went the other way, you 30-second round, a 30-second break, then it went back. to whoever got best 2 out of 3. So I go out and I'm like, I'm gonna try to wrestle this cat. I had pretty decent wrestling. Well, I thought I had pretty decent wrestling. So I collar tie with him. He foot trips me like right off the bat, like a beautiful foot trip. Gets me down. I think I shoot for a leg lock. I don't know what happened. He does like a cartwheel pass. Somehow he ends up in an arm bar. Yeah.
You're looking at the promoter like, what have you done?
Yeah, he was super fast. He was like super fast. There was no way he should have been a blue belt at the time either. Like he got promoted to purple belt like a week after this. And mind you, I'm a fresh blue belt.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he like arm bars me or something like this after he passes. It's on YouTube too somewhere, probably floating around, haunting me now. So he wins that when I go back to Rob. I'm like, okay, well, we'll see what happens here. Because it went a little farther than that. Like I had some good interchange with his legs, but he definitely got the better of me. The second round, I went out there and it was just pitiful. Like he set guard. I think I came up to do something, like I went to pass or something happened. He came up. I think he foot tripped me again. Like it was like horrible. And then jumped straight into a mounted triangle. I escaped mounted triangle and he hit me with a mounted armbar. I'm like, no.
Sick blue belt, bro.
The first round was a rear naked. I'm sorry. I was in double outside Ashi.
Mm-hmm.
And he collapsed me. I went to honey hole.
Mm-hmm.
He collapsed me in and went to my back from honey hole. And that's when I learned. Well, that's when I learned from my body anyway that I'm too big to roll underneath on honey hole. Like my legs are huge. I can't roll. So some people can do it. I cannot do it. So then he got my back and did it. But yeah, the second round he got mounted triangle and mounted armbar on me. I was like, man, this is. I went home just mad at the world. You want to stay for the rest of the night? I'm like, no, I don't want to fucking stay. Let's go.
You're like up late, drunk, texting the promoter like, why? Why did you do that to me?
I was so mad. But I try not to back down. I try to, if somebody's offering me a match, it's just jiu-jitsu. It's not going to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
At least at this level, black belt level is a different game.
Yeah.
But I try not to take it too seriously. MMA is a different world. MMA, you throw somebody out there, you can get killed in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that.
Jiu-jitsu, I'm like, hey, whatever.
I don't know. Like I've gotten so many people saying like, you would be so good at MMA. I'm like, I don't want to get punched in the face though. Like I won't lie to you right now. I don't want to get punched.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
It sounds great to go in there and beat the shit out of somebody, but what if I get punched though? Or kicked really hard in the leg, man? Or in the face? What if I get knocked the fuck out? Like,
if people are looking at me, they're talking about me.
Yeah.
I did it. I can say I did it. I can also say that I don't know if I want to do it again. Like,
right. You just walk over and you see Gannon like this, and you're like, bro, what?
Yeah, it was my first fight. I fought in Parkersburg, West Virginia, in some like meth town. It was horrible.
Oof.
We fought in the boxing ring outside, sun beating on me. It was terrible.
Man.
It was absolutely awful. And that probably kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. So we talked about worst competition experience. Tell me about your best competition experience. Like, what set you off and maybe jumped your popularity up a little bit?
I would definitely say like two situations. So like when I went on Kazai Pro, I think that definitely got me some popularity. I was like this close to Gianni Grippo. Like I was like right there. Like I said hi to him and everything. It was kind of cool because that's another dude that like I've looked up to a lot. And now I've had a couple like passing conversations with him. But anyways, like when I got the win on there, it was definitely a boost in popularity. Another big, I would say, like I got a pretty quick submission on CVL Pro. Like when I went to their team event,
Mm-hmm.
I like flying heel hooked someone, and it was a guy that just went through like 2 or 3 members of our team. So we won. Yeah, we won that one.
Well, who was it from? Who was it?
Oh, who was it? It was
yeah.
I think his name's Cisco. Yeah. I think he was a brown belt at the time. I'm not 100% sure, but I was like, I was in that year of my purple belt where I was like, I'll fight anyone. Like, I don't care. So, it was, it was definitely one of those ones where after that, like, I think I won 3, lost 2 or something like that day, but it was really that finish that a lot of people started messaging me and like interacting with me on Instagram and social media in general. So yeah, that was a really good experience. How about you?
Cool. Oh man, probably the best experience I probably had competing was when I first. Well, there's been a couple of different super fights that I had like a lot of fun at. The last one I did in Connecticut, which was December of 2019, or 2019 was 2020. Has sucked for everybody, of course.
Yeah.
I competed at Ironman in Connecticut, and that was really fun. But I tell you why it was fun. I didn't win.
Mhm.
Like I lost by referee decision, but it was probably my favorite time competing.
Mhm.
So I competed against a guy from Marcelo Garcia's. We had a really good match. It went to ref decision. Nobody got anybody. We kind of felt each other out. But I had a Phalanx American flag rash guard on. I still wear it sometimes, and it has the American flag on the back of it.
Yeah.
And me and this guy are exchanging. We're exchanging. He gets me in. He hits like a pseudo car wheel pass, something like that, and I kind of chill out north south. I know he's not going to submit me. I just kind of chill out. You've rolled with me. You know how I am. I kind of like
Yeah.
be really
The first
efficient.
time you did it, I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Sometimes I get really lazy. I'm just like, I chill out, right? So I like, just sit like this and just chill out for a while. And I'm like catching my breath, I'm like, you're not going to submit me from here. It's sub only, no points. I'm not going to let you submit me. So
Mhm.
at the very least, I'll protect myself while I catch my breath.
Yeah.
So I'm chilling there like 30 seconds. He's kind of like working around. And I'm waiting on him to make a move because as soon as he makes a move, I'm going to cut to a single leg X, right? Because he's going to have to throw his body weight one way or the other. Well, I hear somebody in the background going, "Come on, America! Come on, America! We're rooting for you! We're rooting for you!" I'm like, "What the fuck is that?"
That's pretty dope.
And I'm like, "Come on, America! Come on, America!" And I look around, and Nick Newell is standing there. And Nick Newell was rooting for me on the other side of the room. I was like, "That's pretty cool."
Yeah.
So, and Nick Newell only has one arm. He has half of the arm. And I'm looking over at him like that, gave him away like right off the bat. I'm like, fuck, that's Nick Newell. I was like, I almost lost where I was at in the match. I was like, it was really cool. Like I don't know why, but it always stuck in my mind after that.
That's really dope, bro. Like, I like, don't get me wrong. Like, I've definitely done better in matches and tournaments than the 2 that I mentioned. Like, I've like had match or days where I've gone like 4, 5, 6-0, but it's more about the effect, the after effect. Like, I would way rather win one big match than win 8 small matches. Like, I would way rather win one big match against a big name than honestly, actually, I take that back. I forget everything I said. I forgot about this one. So I was like 6 months into my purple belt, and I tapped Malachi Edmond at a Naga, and he was like, I mean, everyone completely wrote me off for that match, and I ended up getting the submission. So that was actually the biggest catalyst to like, okay, I can do this. Like, I can do something with jiu-jitsu. Yeah, that was definitely the best moment of my competition career so far.
That's cool, man. So this year, obviously, COVID hit. Not a lot of people have been able to compete. My invitational got kicked off this year. COVID actually was kind of a blessing for me. I hate to say it like that. It sucked in the beginning of the year, definitely, but I started 2 companies this year. Freedom Fightwear, which we're making rash guards for you when you go out to Keenan's. Hopefully they're in by Saturday. If not,
Man,
I'm going to have to ship them to you, but we're going to get them either way.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
And we started, the podcast, and we started the Freedom Grappling Invitational, which was a big success the first time. It's going to be a killer second card, too. So COVID's kind of helped me out, like in that sense. I guess it gave me motivation to do something else that I hadn't been able to compete. Having said that, I miss competition, man. So you didn't get to compete any this year either, right? Not so far.
No, it's honestly like this match that I have November 7th with Nick Salas is the first time I've competed at brown belt, and I've had my brown belt since January. I'm used to competing like 2 or 3 times a month.
Yeah.
Like it's been definitely a big effect. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I definitely took a 6 to 8 month like time off when I first started Nexus, but when COVID hit, I had a tournament literally the weekend that everything blew up, and I didn't know whether I was going to compete or not. So I called the promoter like a day beforehand, and I was like, "Hey man, like what are you guys thinking?" And they're like, "Okay." Or no, it was 2 days beforehand, and I was like, "Hey man, like what are you thinking?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I think we're gonna have it." He called me back like 6 hours later, like early in the morning or something like that, and he was like, "Dude, this thing's not gonna happen." So like coupled with all of the tournaments being shut down, all the gyms being shut down, I shit you not, man. Like I didn't train for a full like 2 or 3 months because my mom is like susceptible to that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I ended up having to move out of like my parents' house where I was saving up to like move out. I moved out like way earlier than I expected to, just so I could restart the gym, restart training, because I was like, dude, I haven't trained jujitsu in 2 or 3 months, which is like like once you get into a rhythm, like a week feels like forever. So
God, yes, it does. I think I was actually at the first class you came back from.
oh man, and I was like, I felt like terrible. I was like, I swear I've done this jujitsu stuff before.
Yeah, I definitely was at the first class whenever you first opened back up Nexus, because I remember laying on the mat for like 30 minutes about to die.
Yeah, it was same here, man. Like my cardio was, I mean, don't get me wrong, like I gained a lot of weight just from like drinking and eating like shit for a second, and then I was like and then after like a week or two of that, I was like, okay, like this is eventually going to pass. So I started lifting on a regular basis, doing the Zoom private lessons and classes. So we were doing a lot of like workouts and things like that, and I actually I just made a post about it like yesterday or the day before that COVID in a way has also helped me, because now that I'm back at training all the time, I also have the motivation to work out 3 to 4 times a week. So
Yeah, I started strength training a lot this year too. That's actually what I was doing before we got on this podcast. So it's like definitely helped me get back into that full competition. So I think 2021 is going to look like a big competition year. What do you think for yourself?
absolutely. I mean, I definitely want to I was telling a lot of like all of my sponsors, I was telling pretty much everyone around me that I've sat around for too long and watched from the outside as people that I don't feel are as skilled as me win everywhere, and it's driving me crazy. And I really want to get my name out there at brown belt, because at purple belt, like, that wasn't a thing. Like towards the end of purple belt, like a lot of people knew me in the community. They a lot of people were ducking me for super fights and stuff like that. So as far as brown belt, like I need to restart that. I need to get my name out there a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there's always a place whenever we run a freaking grappling invitational.
Yeah,
You want a place,
definitely.
you holler at me, I'll get you on. It's a non-issue.
Beautiful, man. I would love to.
So, next question I have for you. What's one thing that you wish you had known when you began jiu-jitsu that you know now? What's your one thing?
Oh man, I always thought as like a white belt that one day everything would just click and jiu-jitsu would be easy. Like I trained earlier, like what, an hour or two ago, with some like blue and purple belts, and it's still not easy. Like it's always going to be there's always going to be someone who is naturally talented, trained longer than you. That black belt that's trained 25 years and he got his black belt at 21. So
Yeah.
there's just always someone better than you, and I never wanted to believe that as a white belt. So I trained really hard, but no matter how hard you train, there's always going to be someone better than you.
Always. I guess that should be what drives you instead. That's the difference in some people's competition career, I think. Is they're like, oh, somebody's better than me, and they give up, or somebody's better than me, and they move forward,
Right. I think that's probably one of the biggest like killers of that passion that people have for competing in jiu-jitsu, because I felt it. Like I think everyone's felt it when you feel like you have the sauce and you go into a match and you just get destroyed. Like or you had that submission that you thought was going to finish them and they get out and then they submit you right away or something like that. Like it's just like jiu-jitsu is unforgiving, and
So
you have to love that about it, or you're going to just get eaten up by the people who have accepted that.
I tell people all the time, I was like, jiu-jitsu and MMA both, because like I said, when I started training MMA. They're both the weirdest sports ever. So like basketball, football, baseball, soccer, whatever, normal American sports, you be playing, you're like, I'm good every day. Like you're like, man, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
You're not really gonna have a day where you're like, oh, I suck. Jiu-jitsu is like totally opposite. You'd be like, I'm good, I'm doing good. I suck again. Like what happened?
Right, yeah.
I suck again. I don't know anything. Why am I doing this? And then like the next day, you'll get in that slump, and you'll be in the slump for like a couple weeks. And then the day after that, you'll pop up, and you're like, everything will click. Well, not everything, but some things will click, and you'll progress like way up. And then it'll keep going, and then you'll suck again, and then you'll progress way up. And it's like something will click, and it'll make you progress like leaps and bounds, and then you'll back in. It's a lot of mountains and valleys in jiu-jitsu. You got to ride out the valleys.
Absolutely. I think that's the best way to put it. Like another thing that I think hurts people's motivation as far as jiu-jitsu is if you're good, like in a regional sense or something like that, like you go to a gym in the tri-state area within 30-45 minutes of your school and you're tapping everyone, it's like, all right, I'm pretty good, right? And you stay there. If you stay there and you're just tapping everyone and you're like, man, I'm the shit, like I'm doing very well, it's like yeah, wait until you go with someone who went out of their way to find someone better than them, and then they overcame that challenge. That's what I felt going to beta. Like I would go to the gyms around town and I would like clean up shop, but right when I went to beta, everything got way more difficult. Like I was a purple belt, I was like, no blue belt will ever tap me. I got knee barred like the first day by a blue belt or something like that, and that was something that stuck with me. So yeah, I think people get complacent and they don't ride out those valleys that you were speaking of.
Yeah. Well, like the other night, me and you were talking about when I went to the West Virginia Grappling Games and I mopped up shop, right?
You did. You saw some of those fools.
If I would have, like, people stay in competition like that, they're like, oh, I'm like the greatest thing ever. And then you take that competition, because it's so much different in state to state. You take that level of competition, like even the way I competed that day, I mopped up shop. If I would have took that level to like New York, I would have got ranked off the map. It's like two totally different areas of jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
So I agree with you. You got to like go out of the way to find, your next opponent, push yourself further and further and further up that ladder. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so excited for this week at Keenan's, because like nowadays, outside of like a select few people that I get to train with, like for the most part, I'm training with students or people who haven't just had as much experience in competition with me. Like I still train with brown and purple belts and black belts and all of that stuff, but like for the most part, they just don't have the competition experience. or they're just not aware of the techniques that I'm doing. But I know damn well that all of the people at Legion know a lot about lapels, a lot
Yeah.
about basic berimbolo fundamentals and things like that. So I'm really excited to get out there.
Yeah, I'll roll no gi with you all day. Gi, I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, Gannon. Stop grabbing this part.
I remember the first time we rolled, you tried to heel hook me in the gi, and I was like, this motherfucker.
That sounds like me. All right. Next question. What is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
Inside of jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-jitsu or being a new business owner, or both?
I think that one of my biggest failures has been, it was very recent, like within a year recent, like when I started to do, like take Nexus more seriously and like started to build the brand, I stopped competing. And that is just, it's soft. Like I didn't want, there was this small voice in the back of my head that was like, you don't want to compete right now because what if you lose and your students don't take you seriously? Because I started Nexus as a purple belt, as you know.
Yeah.
So I definitely didn't want to give the people around town like an excuse to be like, see, what the hell is this guy doing, thinking he can teach something? So then I started to compete more like as a purple belt, and I ended up getting my brown belt earlier. Did I get it in 20? Yeah. Holy crap. This year has flown, bro. So I got it earlier this year, and then COVID hit. So I'm very, very excited to kind of grow from that. Like I'm looking forward to getting, like, I have my competition mindset back. And I think my biggest failure was losing that.
I feel that. All right. Next thing. What advice would you give someone else wanting to pursue a path similar to yourself, whether it be in jiu-jitsu or opening up your own gym?
I think it's very important to be realistic. Like, don't expect just because you have a couple wins in IBJJF and you've been on Kazai and you've been on like these big super fight promotions. Don't think that people are just gonna flock, you know, because there was like an initial hype of like, oh, this competitor, like he's, and like a lot of people would come over, and now, like, as you know, like a lot of my students were previous blue belts from other schools, not intentional, but
Yeah.
that's just, they were looking for something different. Like I would say be realistic in your goals, and be patient with what you want to do, because like I ended up starting Nexus. Don't get me wrong, like I love Nexus, I love what I've created, but my intention was always to wait until black belt, and an established black belt. Like I wanted to win things at black belt before I started a school, because I wouldn't have to run into the legitimacy problem. Um, and that was probably the biggest hurdle to get over in the beginning, because now I have brown belts that train under me. But in the beginning, like when I didn't have my name out there, it was very hard to keep students as a purple belt because a lot of the people that I knew in the community that were considering coming over, they're like, well, how am I going to get promoted? You're the same belt as me. So I think patience and like, what did I say before? It was important too. Damn. But patience is a big one. I think patience is the most important, because if you're not patient, you're going to rush in with no plan, similar to how I did, and kind of figure it out on the fly. I'm just glad that I have so many people supporting me, that I kind of made it through that initial hump, and now it's more established.
Yeah. That's a big point. Like I know my business mentor, Josh Leduc, the better known as Star Lord in the jiu-jitsu community. He puts on Sapatero. But he has a name for it. I can't remember what it is, because he was like, I guess I faced like the same issues and starting my like promotion and everything. I was like, I'm a blue belt. Nobody's going to listen to me. I was just switching over from no-gi at the time. So my blue belt was like, I was fully set on never getting promoted again. Like me and you've talked about that because Robbie, my last coach before COVID hit and closed down our gym, was a
white belt.
Was a white belt because he did MMA.
Seen him compete.
He did MMA, and he was never actually trained in the gi for promotion or whatever, right? He would go everywhere and just roll no gi. I think he trained in gi like 1 or 2 times, and that's it. So he was a white belt, right?
Yeah.
So I had kind of like made up my mind that I would never going to be promoted again. So I was like, how am I going to do this thing? Own a promotion as a blue belt, own this as a blue belt. I'm like, it wasn't going to take me serious as a blue belt. And he has a name for it, and I can't for the life of me remember what it is. But it's like pretty much, don't worry about that. Just keep doing what you're going to do, and your legitimacy will come by what you're doing. People talk, things like that. And belts are so different now than they were 10, 15 years ago anyway. And like Nicky Rod's a fucking purple belt. Nicky Rod's murdering people. He's a fucking purple belt.
Right.
Ethan Crellson's a brown belt.
Sick brown belt, man. Like on it, dude.
Ethan Crellston a brown belt.
Bro, watching him at your event in August, right?
Yeah.
Bro, I mean, he absolutely ran through that team and made it look. It was free cash for him. Like it was that was absolutely amazing. Like, and he's the biggest 55er I've ever seen in all of my days. He has to be cutting hard for that division. But yeah, man, beautiful technique.
I'm super excited about him and Elijah Carlton coming up in December.
It's gonna be a good one.
I'm super excited that somebody took a match against him. First of all,
and it's not 3K anymore; it's 5. Right? It's
not 3K. He went for the 5. They're doing the 5. It took a little bit of talking, and they settled on the 5. There's some screenshots blasted on the internet. With my name. I didn't care much for that, but it's all said and done. They settled at 5. I'm happy. They're happy. They get to compete December 5th. 10 grand to the winner. And Elijah Carlton's coming off some big wins because he just took the whole PGF at Catherine's. So he was the winner of the PGF. He beat Caleb McAllister in the finals. Of course.
Okay.
The guy with Evan from Ram is training with you now at Nexus.
Yeah.
Caleb helped coach him. So
that fool's a beast, but don't let him hear this.
All right. So who do you think the most 3 influential people have been to you in your jiu-jitsu career?
So I would definitely say that so 2 people that I would kind of put together in a category. Mordecai Williams, my sponsor, Strong Arm Sports, and then Dave Kedash, High Road Revolution and High Road Jiu Jitsu, where you train. I think these guys are just they've done a lot for me, like behind the scenes. Like I mean, I've been with Strong Arm Sports for 5 years now. Like I had only trained for a year, and Strong Arm Sports gave me the opportunity to do everything I could possibly imagine. I mean, they paid for tournaments, they paid for hotels, they paid for flights, they paid for pretty much everything you could possibly imagine as a blue belt. Like that doesn't come to common, especially as someone who hadn't really won anything at all. And I still feel like I haven't, like I still have a long way to go. And then Dave Kedash, I mean, he gives me a lot of support behind the scenes in many different ways. Like financially, he's a great leader. There's just so many good things that I can say about him. So those 2 are very influential. As far as like,
Dave. Love you, Dave.
Yeah, shout out Dave. So I think another category would be like my technical inspirations. So Rafa Mendes and Keenan, like I like to think that I'm somewhat of a mixture of the 2 because I berimbolo a lot and I use a lot of lapels. Those are the two guys that I really, really look up to and knock upon as well, because now I smash pass, which I never, ever thought that I was going to be able to do. So those would be my like technical inspirations. And then as far as like just pushing me forward in their own silly way, my parents. I do not think that I would be half the man I am today without my parents. And their assumption was that I would go to college and that I would like get the 4-year degree, get a job, and like be successful like them. But they eventually supported me in what I do now, and now it's a lot more relaxed, you know, as far as like talking to them about where I want to go, my goals in jiu-jitsu, because they believe in me. And I'm sure they always did, but they were always very critical of my my path. So I would say those are all my biggest inspirations.
We have to admit it's a hard path to to watch somebody go down, because how many rich jiu-jitsu athletes are there?
Right. Yeah.
It's not an easy path, man. It's definitely something that it's definitely something you have to work a lot at, and you have to have outside sources of income, which is of course why I started different companies, because I realized, hey, competition is only going to take me so far.
Yeah.
I got to have different routes, and you did too. Obviously with the gym and all that. So we're getting there, right? So this is kind of a weird one here. I don't know why I wrote this.
Oh man, I'm nervous. Monkus.
So if you could step into my shoes as a host talking to you, right? What would you have asked that I didn't? So what's something that you want to tell people that I didn't ask you?
Damn. You covered so many bases, man. I shit you not, dude. I think you covered just about all of the ones that I would, like the history of how I got into this. Anubis Guard, Keenan, like, yeah, man. I don't have any critiques, to be 100% honest.
Good deal. So you go to Keenan's, you leave Sunday, right?
Yeah.
You're there for a week.
Yeah, I'm leaving butt ass early in the morning. I mean, for me, like eight for me is a little early. Like I'm one of those guys that if I have the opportunity, I'll sleep until 2. But that's because I'm a big ass nerd. Like I do play more than my fair share of RuneScape. Any RuneScape fans out there? But yeah, I'm very excited.
That's awesome, man. I'm super happy for you. And super stoked too, since I cross-train at the gym a lot now. I got to learn everything that you learned from there. So in my own weird way, I'm really happy you're going, because now you learn everything, right? That's a good thing about jiu-jitsu too. Like if somebody travels, like there's so many bad perceptions of jiu-jitsu with coaches. Like I haven't really felt this per se. I did with the very first plane I trained at, but I haven't since. Dave's really cool about it. Robbie was super cool about it. If you go train somewhere else, they were like really cool about it. There's certain gyms where like you can't go train anywhere else. Like they get really mad about that. I hate that.
Yeah, man, that was another thing. And I don't want to talk down on them, because they gave me a fantastic base of technique and like brotherhood. But that was how Darcy O'Leary was. There were a couple situations where like I trained every day. Literally like 6 to 7 days a week there, and if I took one day off to go to MMAI, like back when I was a blue belt, because that was one of the better schools in the area, right? And like I got a lot of heat for that, just like cross training other places, because I wanted to be as good as I possibly could be. And at Beta, I mean, here's the thing, like if they're upset about that, then maybe they're afraid you won't come back. You know, like knock upon so good that he knows I'm gonna come back, because he has a vast amount of knowledge, and I'm never gonna leave. You know, it's I think a lot of people they like to covet their information, and I'm not like that. I want everyone in the jiu-jitsu community because I want jiu-jitsu to grow. That's my biggest
Yeah.
my biggest thing that I want from this whole shebang, because jiu-jitsu is still so young. It's
Very
only been
young. Very young.
yeah, right? Like I want to share my jiu-jitsu and anything that I can soak up from everyone else to I want to give it to everyone that I possibly can.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You couldn't have said it any better. Like, I tell people all the time, I will go learn from whoever. Like, people get really hell bent on like, oh, you need to go to black belt seminars. You need to go to people's seminars that are like black belt or brown belt or black belt, whatever. I've been doing this for like a long time. Yes, that's good. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying, but it's not necessarily the case. Like, you can learn just as much from rolling with a white belt if you have the mindset. Like, you can learn just as much about teaching a white belt while you're rolling, about your own technique that you can learn from anybody else. It's like you have to have a mindset for learning. Now, obviously, you're not going to pick up the techniques that they might pick up on, but you could definitely learn something. Like, I was rolling with a younger blue belt the other day, and like he showed a nice variation to a bow and arrow trick that I didn't have, right?
Yeah.
So if I would have been a typical smart ass, well, I'll rank you, whatever. You can't show me anything because people do that. People they get
really
that why. So not there, but they're really good there. But definitely gyms are like, I'm higher ranked than you. You don't show me anything. Like,
that's whack. That's whack. No, dude.
Gyms like that, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. So
yeah,
I always ask. Like, I'm like, I kind of like freak out because I helped Robbie coach at Louisa, and I was his youth day in and day out. So like, somebody asked about some leg lock techniques the other day, and I was like, Dave, like, if I'm talking and you don't want me to tell them, like, tell me to shut the fuck up. Like, just be real with me. I'm like, I'm not trying to overstep my bounds. I'm in a new gym.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you're good. You're good.
It's sensitive territory, like really there's definitely like a respect factor. But some instructors take that a little too seriously. For me, it's like for example, I'm ass at guillotines and darces. So I'll take my man Nick Judy and be like, teach darces while I'm at a Lachlan Giles seminar. So that is like the poisonous part of ego. Like, I think ego is definitely important to have, especially as a competitor, because it drives you to be better. But if you're going to have a inflated ego as far as an instructor, you're not going to last, and you're not going to keep students because everyone wants to be heard, right? It's just creating a boundary where you're not getting disrespected, but you're also giving people a chance to be heard.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, I've had it at your gym too, where like somebody will come up and be like, "Hey, can you show me this heel hook or whatever?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I'll show you." Like, if Gannon says anything, he'll say something to me, and I'll show him. Then he'll be like, "What about this toe hold?" I'm like, ask Gannon about toe hold. He's better at toe holds than I am. I was like, I'm a fairly good leg locker. I was like, but if you want to talk toe holds, you can talk to Gannon about it. I was like, heel hooks I'm pretty good at. The only person I can't hook is Gannon himself because his fucking heel hooks they're not correct. His bone density is not correct.
Bro, tell that to Nakapon because he rips my shit off. Dude, I swear. Him and Gary Gioni, they're like the two people that I just like. I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm pretty decent at defending heel hooks and applying them as well. But like,
you're very decent at it, yeah.
Those dudes, like, I don't know what it is.
It's very accurate. Every time I get you in 50-50, I'm like ripping heel hooks. I'm like, fuck, man, just break your knees. Just do it. So you go out to Keenan's on Sunday. What are you hoping to bring back from Keenan's, or what are you hoping to gain from going to Keenan's?
I mean, I want to see, like, not in a overly competitive way, but I would like to see how I stack up against most of his brown belts. I would like to see if I can have any type of success whatsoever rolling with him, because I mean, he's the guy that I pretty much like taken the like build of his game and tried to emulate it. So I'd really like to test myself against a lot of his higher belts. I'd really like to absorb as much worm knowledge as I possibly can. I'd like to show people my take on single leg X worm, Anubis Guard, whatever you want to call it. And I'd like to build a relationship with Keenan. Like I'd really like to make this not just a week where I go out and then it's like, see ya, never. I want to make it something that we can like have a back and forth, and I want to befriend a lot of people there.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think you're on the right track of like networking when you're out there. That's the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu. Our sport is so much at the amateur level, even professionals are still at the amateur level. You hear Gordon Ryan talking about it all the time. But we're so much at the amateur level that even the top guys are very approachable because
absolutely
we're all in the fight together to try to get the sport where it's at. So like the guys that you look up to, Keenan, Galvo, Gordon Ryan, whoever you look up to, they're pretty approachable people. Like you can go up to them and just talk to them.
Yeah, man.
Talk to Tom Brady and be like, "Hey, Tom, what's up?" Like,
right? Yeah, you're gonna walk up to LeBron, and be like, "What's up, LeBron? How you doing?"
Yeah, like it's not gonna happen. But you can like go up to Tom DeVos tomorrow and be like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's probably gonna talk to you. That's a beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu. It's such a great community of people, and that's probably what I love most about it is the people. The connections you make in jiu-jitsu. Competition is great. Don't get me wrong. I love competing, but the connections you make is so much better. Like, me and you met competing.
Yeah.
And look where that's taken us down different roads. So it's just amazing, like how small the world is in jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely, man. I think like what were we say? My bad.
So when everybody thinks it's so big, like how small the world actually is.
Yeah, 100%. I think. I mean, all of my friends now. I think I have maybe like 5 friends that don't train jiu-jitsu, and I mean, they understand. I hope that they understand that 99% of my life is jiu-jitsu. Like I train like 10 to 20 times a week, and I have like private lessons and things like that. So, and conditioning and all of that. So, it's very difficult to have a relationship with someone who's not in the community. So it's like a double-edged sword. But yeah, I think it's such a powerful part of jiu-jitsu, the connections that you can make, and across the country. Like if I can build a lot of connections in California, who knows? Maybe I'll end up there again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. You get trained with some killers out there too. I think. Who does Keenan have out there with him now? I know Sloan Climber went out there.
Yeah. There's this guy named Jacob. I hope I don't butcher his last name, Kasama. And he won purple belt pans just recently at a weight class above me. So I'd really like to get some rounds in with him. I'm sure he's a beast. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to rolling with a lot of his like below 170-ish brown and purple and black belts. Like I hear that there are so many high level people from outside gyms coming through as well. So it'll be a lot of fun.
So are you staying in the fighter house when you go?
Yeah. So I'm gonna stay in the fighter house. I'm not sure the entire list of people that are there, but I assume it's like 4 to 8 people, something like that. So yeah. I believe it's like the gym is 10, 15 minutes away, so I'm going to be Ubering, catching rides with the athletes and all of that.
That's awesome, man. Like I say, can't be more happy for you to go out there and do what you've been wanting to do for, I'm sure the last couple of years, going out there to see someone who you looked up to. So super happy for you, super proud of you, man.
Thank you.
Way over our time, like way over our time. That's great. Because I don't have a TV spot, so it doesn't really fucking matter, does it? So, tell us a little bit about where we can find you on social media and how the people that are watching can connect with you.
Awesome. So, basically every single platform you can think of, like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, even, like all of them are at Gannon Lang. or at Gannon_Lang. So it's very easy to find me. Feel free to DM me. Shout out to my sponsors, Strong Arm Sports, High Road Revolution, and Chaos Order brand BJJ. I really appreciate you guys for all of the support. And other than that, like I said, feel free to message me anytime.
All right. So after you go to Keenan, you have a super fight November 7th. Where is that at?
That's in Philly. So I have a fight for Tap Cancer out against Nick Salas, who just closed out Pans in my division. The man is huge. Like he's definitely, I would say, cutting like 10, 15, like 20 pounds, something like that, for the fight. And I walk at the weight. So I'm just excited to get out there because honestly, it's been so long for me. But I think he's like without a doubt one of the top 2 or 3 people in the entire division, and I know that he's had his brown belt for a long time, so he's like one of the guys on my list that I want to fight before he gets out of the brown belt division.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So y'all tune in to Tap Cancer Out. Do they do live streams now that they're
They
doing
do.
this?
Yeah.
So tune in to Tap Cancer Out. One of our good friends, Adam Sawyer, works for Tap Cancer Out. So
Yeah, man.
shout out to Buzzsaw BJJ. All right. Follow Gannon Lang on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, everything where you can find Twitch. He plays some video games on there from time to time.
I do.
So, Gannon, I will hopefully see you Saturday with the rash guards. If not, I will mail them to you out there so you can have them while you're out there in California. Wish you the best luck, brother. Stay safe. Have fun. Learn a lot of stuff to bring back to us, all right?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me on, man.
All right, brother. Sounds good. Thank you. All right, guys. We went way over our time with that. That was our good friend Gannon Lang, brown belt, trains at Beta Academy, owns Nexus Martial Arts, Nexus Jiu Jitsu out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. He will be traveling to Legion AJJ HQ out of Keenan Cornelius School in California Sunday through the next week. Has a super fight at TCO. Tap Cancer Out November 7th. Give him a follow. Check him out. As always, this podcast brought to you by Freedom Grappling Fightwear or Freedom Fightwear, Freedom Grappling Invitational. Our next card, December 5th, North River Jiu-Jitsu, Palmetto, Florida. Main event, Ethan Crellison, Elijah Carlton, $10,000 on the line. $10K on the line, $5K per person bet match. We also have a 170 purple and under no-gi bracket for $1,000. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be awesome. We're looking for sponsors for that. If you're up to it, give me a DM. You can look for us on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Freedom Fightwear, Freedom Grappling Invitational, Jesse Gwynn BJJ. And on YouTube, it is Freedom Fightwear Podcast. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for tuning in.